Hey guys, what's up? It's Noodles1994. I know you guys haven't got a actual duel video for me in a while, but I'm starting to play two different zombie builds that have the same focus. I'm just swapping out 5 cards, but I like the Beast of the Pharaoh and Unizombies, and I'm going up against some penguins with a Gozen match, which don't really matter to me with my main deck, but it matters with my extra deck. Um, this version is using Norden. Now, I just like getting a lot of things in the grave, setting up. So my plan is to just sink for an 8, and then I'd get back a Unizombie. And my 8 was going to be... It was probably going to be Beals. But he decides to Torrential Tribute, and at this point I look at his grave to see what he's playing, and I notice it's Nightmare Penguin, and so I'm like, okay, I got to beware of things that he sets because I'm probably going to lose a board. I do play the Galaxy Cyclone because I play the Curry Bandit, and I like being able to activate things from the grave. So I just go for a Black Rose, blow up the field. I was hoping more for a no penguin, but at least it didn't get. At least the puny penguin didn't get its effect. He has a penguin soldier set. Jar and Murray agreed, so he sets another nightmare. And I just kind of let it go because I know the deck's gonna have to play defensively. So now he goes for the no penguin and flips up the Nightmare Penguin. And it says target 1 card, so he targets my Mirror Force, which banishes my Mirror Force. So I'm like, alright, I'm just going to wind up Rugekiing on my turn. And I thought it was pretty cool because I drew into the Bottomless, so I can Bottomless the No Penguin whenever No Penguin comes back by his effect. So he decides to Jar of Avarice, everything except the No Penguin. You know, pretty obvious. He sets a Fire Hand, and I didn't know that he was playing the hands. So I attack into it, nothing happens. Career Bandit goes off. It's bad that I milled 2 Mizukis, but I got a Torrential. So he decides to attack me with the Fire Hand. And I decide to activate Mizuki. Not Mizuki, but Malicious. Um, I do have a Mizuki engraved, though. I sent it with Unizombie. I get to Stardust Dragon out because I know that he won't get his Fire Hand effect off, which is good for me. So I just decide to attack. He's going to Mirror Force it. I'm going to negate. And then my Stardust is going to come back. And he uses Burst Reverse as well. So he decides to switch his Fire Hand to defense because I have a Stardust Dragon on board. I set the Solemn. I attack into Fire Hand. Fire Hand tries to activate his effect to destroy Stardust. And I negate that. And at this point, he activates Burst Reverse to pay 2,000 life to bring back a Fire Hand, and I'm going to get back my Stardust Dragon. I believe he's about to rage quit, but he says lucky, like right before he rage quits, because I was able to pull off a Stardust Dragon, which essentially shut down his Fire Hand. And he has a Wiretap and a Murray Greed, so he pretty much had a lot of stuff set up. He just wasn't able to pull off anything. Yeah, he said lucky right after he played that. And then it took a while for him to quit, so I was like, why is that lucky? I don't get it. I still have a Stardust and you still have a Fire Hand. But I was pretty much going to win. I had some graveyard stuff set up, and I had the Stardust on board. And this time I'm going against, you might not be able to know, but it's the Fortune Ladies. And I go for a turn 1 Beals, And the Pharaoh gets back Unizombie. So he just plays dual Rose Warrior. So I'm like, alright, this could be practically any deck. So he's gonna attack, killing my Unizombie. And I foolish a malicious. He's going to Scrap Iron Scarecrow, the only thing that can beat over his Rose Warrior. He beats over my Goblin Zombie, so I could add a Unizombie to hand. I decided to go for a Leo, and since I activated Unizombie, I couldn't attack. And he tributes for Fortune Lady Dark, and made it go up by 3 to beat over my Leo, which I thought was pretty sweet. But it still can't beat over Bills. He activates Fortune. Activated in the turn of Fortune Lady monster you control is destroyed. Special 2 Fortune Ladies from your hand during your next standby phase. So I just go for a Goyo. He mirror forces, so I will still be able to keep the Bills. And he actually got lucky and was able to draw a Fortune Lady. The Mally was dead in hand, so I decided to ditch it. He's going to Scrap Iron Scarecrow Beals, which now that I know it's a Scrap Iron Scarecrow, I'm just like, okay, he's just going to keep negating Beals' attack. He lets me add in a Pharaoh, and at this point he decides to quit because he knows that I'm just going to be able to beat over pretty much any of his stuff because he's top decking and I have 3 cards in hand, and he's going to keep negating Bill's attacking. So I pretty much was just gonna ditch Plague Spreader, get back Goblin Zombie, maybe Normal Summon Beast. Since Plague would be engraved, put that back on the top of my deck. Special Plague, go for a Synchro play. You know, I could have done a lot of things on my next turn. This was my first time facing some Cyframes, which I'm actually liking. I actually want to learn some Cyframes, but he just sets Bottomless and Compulse, and I know he's playing Cyframes due to the duality, so I decide to Foolish the Mally. And this is my older build whenever I wasn't using Career Bandit. I think I like this build better because I can wind up milling more. And I was also using Tristan. Yeah, I was using Tristan in this build. And in the other build, I was using Goblin Zombie. So I decided to activate Mally. Get a Unizombie. Make a Leo. He's going to Solemn that, which is good on his behalf because Leo would have wrecked it. But I'm going to activate Mizuki again, and this time I'm just going to go for a Pharaoh. Going for a Void Ogre Dragon, and then going for this card and its counterpart. U2. And however you pronounce his name, are the actual reasons why I decided to build zombies. Because if you wind up milling U2, you can't activate him the turn he's milled or sent to the graveyard. But after that, he can Synchro into any zombie. So he can Synchro into that, or he can Synchro into Revived King Hades, which is cool because it ignores the whole Plug Spreader thing. But that's why I decided to make that, and I decided to make Void Ogre. as well, and I just have the malicious. Only zombies could attack, so that's why only this one could attack. He's going to set the terraforming, and I'm going to draw into Raiden, mill some stuff. He's going to special out some stuff and get rid of my Void Ogre. And see, now I have you two in the grave, so now I can actually successfully pull off his stuff during my turn. I'm going to Galaxy Cyclone, mill some more stuff, wind up synchroing. He's going to compulse it. And if I switched the Melee to attack mode, I would have won. But I wasn't thinking properly. I didn't do the damage calculation beforehand. But he gets out his Lord Zeta. So now I just attack with Raiden for game. I do like fighting the Psy-frames. I wish I had more experience facing them. Like I said, I do want to wind up building them, so I need to read them facing Medolces, and this is still using the Lightsworn build, which is the only cards I'm running are Charge of the Light Brigade and Raiden for the extra mills. And he just goes off turn 1 with the Hoot Cake play, pays 1,000, goes for Chocolate a la mode. So I have Regeki. I decide, oh, I don't want none of that on your side of the field. So I start milling. He's going to affect Valor, which was pretty good on his behalf since I would have got 4 more cards in the grave. So he's going to go for Angeli, and I decide to Solemnly Angeli. Just because I didn't want like another Hoot Cake play to come out. So I decided to ditch Mizuki to get back Mizuki. My other target that was in the grave was the Beast of the Pharaoh, because you have to have a target for it to work. And I just go for Crimson Blader, because turn 1 he was busting out pudding sis and stuff like that, so I was like, okay, we can't have that happening. So he goes, and I already have a bottomless set, so I'm pretty much going to counter anything. So he goes for the Angeli to Hoot Cake, and I decide not to do it now because he'll have to overlay with the Hoot Cake, because he has him Youthful on the board. So I'm like, I'll just wait it out a bit. I'll wait for you to do your thing. And then he goes for the Levier, and that is when I activate Bottomless. And then he activates Chateau, so his monster has more attack, but in the end, he still realizes that my Crimson Blader has 700 more attack, which is just enough to beat over his Messenger Lotto and have a game. Alright guys, this I'm actually very proud of, because I'm facing Cleese, and I'm using zombies. So, I'll just go for the turn 1 Unizombie, get Plague in the Grave so I can have him for later. I decide not to really go for much, but he gets the scale out, uses Wavering Eyes, goes for a Scout, and at this point I'm like, oh damn, he's gonna search. He's gonna have like towers in hand, and I'm gonna lose because I can't really get over towers in this deck unless I get out of Beals. I'd have to get out of Beals. I'd either have to get out of Beals, avoid, but I'd rather get out the Beals, or I can get out of Leo and just beat over it, but I'd rather get out of Beals. That way he can't do damage to me. And I could try crashing all day long. But I activate a Galaxy Cyclone on his back row, so that next turn I could activate it on Scout. And I decide to Synchro for the Black Rose. And then I decide to Synchro again. And he quits. I actually would have been able to attack, but he quits. I blew up his entire field due to the Black Rose, and I was going to go for a 6. So I was going for revived King Hydas. And he just decided to bail out there. And I think that's pretty funny because I beat Cleese with some zombies, with some synchro zombies. And I'm starting to like my synchro zombie builds. I kind of want them in real life, but I'm waiting for the 2 new cards to come out, and I don't know when they are. Until next time, guys, hope you enjoyed. Peace. Alright, we got some zombies versus Necros. This is actually a new build that I have that plays the Light Sworns and the Curry Bandit and instant fusions, so I can still bring out the Norden, or Norden. So I go first, and I'm just like, okay, I have a bad hand, so I'm just going to load up the graveyard with things for me to do later, such as the Mizuki and the Plague Spreader. I'm like, alright, I don't really have much, but I'll have this. And for some reason, he Dark Holes my Unizombie, and then summons the Great Sorcerer of Necros. So I'm like, alright, whatever, I'll summon Raiden. He Book of Moons, so I'm like, alright, I'm gonna go for something. And that something is just me loading up the graveyard again. This time with a U2 from my hand and a Goblin Zombie. So he goes into Rhoda and starts doing shenanigans. Just beats over my Unizombie. So I'll flip, activate him, activate U2 Engrave, and bust out a Leo. And then I'll summon Unizombie. Unizombie will do Unizombie things, and I forget that only zombies can attack. So I just go to main phase 2, and I go for a Castell. He MSTs the Solemn Warning, which is sad. And he goes for the Trishula. Can't activate the Trishula effect because I have no cards in hand, but he decides to Decisive Armor the Trishula. So I'm like, alright. And I bounce back his Trishula, and then I play Instant Fusion. And he quits. He quits on the Instant Fusion activation. I don't get what it is with zombies and top tier decks quitting, but apparently that's the thing. Hey guys, what's up? It's Noodles1994, and I have some more zombie stuff. This is a different build, I believe. I think this build is the one that incorporates all of them. It does because of the Cur Bandit, I believe. Yeah, it incorporates both of the builds I've made because it's the Cur Bandit and Raiden one. And I'm facing the Trap Tricks deck. That's supposed to make Reflecia like all the time. So they go from Romelio, set 4. So I just draw into the Curry Bandit a la Lure of Darkness. He is going to Trap Hole my Curry Bandit. I decided to differential on the Ice Hand summon, and he's going to bring back Ice Hand with Phantom Spring. Oh well, Oasis of Dragon Soul. So I'm like, alright, so he'll just have that in defense. I decided to make his a level higher, so that way I can go for an 8. And I decided to make Bills. He's going to Void Trap Hole. So I'm like, alright, I still got something of a play to go on. So he just attacks me with the Fire Hand. And I draw into the Instant Fusion. He's going to Bottomless the Zombie Master, which was pretty much bait. So I go for the 101 to attack into his Fire Hand, and he questioned the 101. But I avoid the destruction, so he doesn't get a special summon of an Ice Hand. And I made the Ice Hand to where you can't use it because it's a level 5 instead of a 4. So I decided to go for the Curry Bandit. So the Career Bandit can mill 5. All monsters, so it was pretty good on my part. And I can't activate 101 anyway, because he only has the one material now. I decided to Mizuki. Like here, I just go off pretty much. So he goes for a Fire Hand. This deck can do a lot of pretty cool stuff. I do like the zombies. I might have to take out the Beast of the Pharaohs, though. Although I am liking him. But as you can see, he was playing Beatron, and he just decided to give up at the end. Now it's against some Clown Stalls, or Performage Stalls, so they just make Construct. Get back the Hat Trigger. Falco gets specialed. He draws into El Shadal Fusion. And then he sets a Shadal Fusion, so he winds up just having Squamata in hand. So I read Geki. Just because he just used 2 Construct. So I go for Raiden. I decide to end. I did wind up milling 2 Mallies. So he just winds up sets some stuff. I pop the El Shadal Fusion, which he just has 3 Shadal Fusions set. I'll attack this Squamata. He pops. So right now I'm just loading up the graveyard. He summons Squamata. Conducts beats over my Raiden. So here I'm going to go for something. I do like that I used the Plague Spreader to put Mally back in the deck in order to activate Mally's effect. So I went for a Beals and 3 other monsters to swing. And I made him mill into his Tricklown, which he decides to activate the effect of, which I was very sad because I don't run the Cowboy because he has to pay the 1,000. So I'm like, well, if I had Cowboy, I would have game. But I don't run Cowboy in this build. So I just decided to make Castell and bounce it back so we can't do anything with it. That way I leave him with no monster on board and he draws into the Tricklown. And Shadal fusions into Construct. And I'm like, alright, I can get around this. And he plays Kyoto Waterfront. And he just decides to attack into Zombie Master, so I'm like, okay, I mean, now I can just beat over it with Beals. But I decide to instead take it with the 101 and attack into his Falco. And then attack for game with Castell. This is zombies versus some Dark Worlds, which I haven't seen in a while. They're using the Trance Archfiend and Dark Smog, which really messes me up. So he does his thing, attacks for 19, sets a Galaxy Cyclone, which doesn't really affect me all that much. So I just go for a Beals, and I get the Goblin Zombie off of Beast of the Pharaoh. And I decide I can't attack except with Goblin Zombie. He Dark Smogs my Plague Spreader. gets Grapha out, I decide to Galaxy Cyclone his gates, and I discarded for Zombie Master to get out Goblin Zombie, but he activates Dark Smog, ditching. So he special summons. I'll just attack over both of his monsters, and I'll set my Solemn. He Galaxy Cyclones my Solemn and sets 2. So I just attack over, and he decides to Jar of Avarice. So all my monsters get put into defense, and then I make an Exciton Knight. So he's just removing my stuff with Dark Smorg, and I decide to Exciton Knight, and my Bills doesn't die because of his effect. So I just decided for an all-out attack here, and he Gateway to the Dark World to bring back Grapha. So I just attack out into Grapha, and then I set the Bottomless so that whenever he tries to bring back Grapha again, I can just Bottomless it like he does here. And then he quits because, of course, I have enough damage on board. Now I'm facing some Malefics, I believe. Yeah, I'm facing some Malefics, like just pure Malefics. Malefic with Montage Dragons, apparently. But I actually opened up super broke for this deck, which was Charge and Curry Bandit. So I got to mill a lot. I wound up getting 9 cards in Grave. So I can have a Plague Spreader play, a U2 play, a Mizuki play, and I got Mali. So I wound up going super broke on turn 1 against this guy. So he just goes and gets. For some reason, he got a mountain. I was questioning that. But I Mirror Force, and he has a Starlight Road and a World Decree set. So I Lower Darkness, he changed World Decree. So I go, okay. Alright, that's okay. That means you're not going to activate a trap. Leading me to OTK. So I just completely go off right here. Let's see what my intern. And I could still go. I ended out with a Leo, a Stardust Dragon, a Katagamine. I don't even know how you pronounce his name. I had a Regeki, a U2, and a Torrential set, and I could still go. I was still activating Mizuki. So I was going to be able to make like another Synchro. But he decided to leave out there because he already knew it was going to be game.